Hey everybody, my name is LaPrecious and welcome to my channel. It's Talk with LaPrecious. So today I'm going to be talking to you all about the Iyanla Vanzant Fix My Life episode that came on last night with LisaRaye. So in the beginning of the episode, we got an introduction of who each person was. We all know LisaRaye is, Diamond from the Players Club, and then eventually she was in Silver Brand, and then after that she was in All of Us for a little bit, and then she was in Single Ladies, on VH1. That was a Queen Latifah TV show, if I remember correctly. Then moving aside from that, she used to be known as LisaRaye McCoy because she was married to the Prime Minister of Turks and Caicos, and she is a former First Lady of the island of Turks and Caicos. And LisaRaye's had her ups and downs. She's had her success as well as failures. I mean, LisaRaye, she's not only known for the movies and TV shows, but she's also known for being a video girl as well. Because I do know I think she was in a Tupac music video, and then I remember she used to play like the background girls of some of the '90s shows, and she was in a Busy Bone video as well with Maya. So yeah, so LisaRaye, she had a very successful career in the mid '90s up until like the early 2000s, and even in the later 2000s as well. Now, when Iyanla Vanzant comes in, she introduces them as the Queen Mother, Queen, and the Princess. So we get a chance to see LisaRaye, her mom, and her daughter. Now, her daughter Kai, I do remember her because I remember LisaRaye a while back, and I think it was on TV1 because LisaRaye has done a lot. She's known as a philanthropist. I remember when she came out with her own line of like white jeans, and then I remember she had like the flat irons that she was selling, and she's always been really good on charity work. And I do remember that her daughter Kai, at the moment when she was introduced, because I think MTV even did a Cribs on LisaRaye. And I remember Kai, was introduced to us at that time as a teenager, maybe somebody in her early 20s, because I do remember she was a thicker girl. In this scene, it looks like she slimmed down a lot, because I remember in her early years, she was a plus size model. And I remember at the time they didn't really want to discuss who her dad was. I think her dad is a football player. He's left unnamed for unknown reasons. But yeah, her dad is well known as well. So moving along from LisaRaye's history, we get introduced to what's really going on with LisaRaye, her mom, and her daughter Kai. In my opinion, this episode was very vague. I felt like they didn't get to the meat and bones of the situation. And I feel like if you don't know LisaRaye's story, then you're not going to understand the gist of this whole conversation because LisaRaye did do a docu episode on TV1, and I forgot the name of it, where she talked about the relationship between her, her father, and her mother more in depth, so you get that background story. So, moving along to the Iyanla Vanzant episode, we pretty much get to see the mother, the daughter, and the grandmother. It appears to me that the mother, LisaRaye's mother and Kai's grandmother, is very bitter. She's bitter and jaded and very upset. And I feel that by the way that she's spoken to, even by Iyanla Vanzant, I'm going to be honest, with Iyanla Vanzant, I noticed her last season of Fix My Life, but I feel like she's playing devil's advocate a lot in these episodes because she used to hold the people who were accountable feet to the fire and let the victims be the victims, but it's like she's reversing it for whatever reason. So I'm like, I don't really like that. But it's like her mom is very bitter and jaded because to me, it sounds like LisaRaye's dad, and it is what it is. LisaRaye's dad pretty much favored her and put her over the mom. And like the Iyanla Vanzant, he did play LisaRaye as the wife. And unfortunately, in a lot of families, you have hierarchies that are like that, where you have the parents, where they have the favorite children, all because the children look good, they have a certain look, they have a certain sound, popularity, money, whatever. They just have that specialness about them that the parents just gravitate towards. And unfortunately, that can cause a lot of disengagement and a lot of resentment within families because when a parent focuses so much on one child, it causes the other children, the other family members to feel emotionally neglected. because you're seeing how one child is being favored, they're being allowed to grow, to do whatever it is they want to do, and to maneuver around and to pretty much be a normal person. And by you being shut out, you have to learn all this stuff on your own with little to no help. And to me, it seems that LisaRaye's mom was put into a child's place, and LisaRaye was put into that wife place. And that's what seems to mess up this engagement here. Now, LisaRaye, you could tell her father. Now, I'm going to give a background story about her father. Her father was a Rolling Stone. He did sleep around with a lot of women, which is why the Brat, the rapper, is LisaRaye's half sister, because he messed around on her mom with other women, and that's how the Brat came about. Now, I don't know if LisaRaye does have any other siblings. She probably does, but may not care to connect with them, or she may be connected with them and we just don't know it. But yeah, the Brat is LisaRaye's sister because of her father's infidelities. Now, her father was a very successful businessman. If you've seen the TV One special on LisaRaye, Lisa, when she was a teenager, she had the fur coat, she had the limousine rides, she was able to get money, she was able to be provided for. She didn't have to do nothing because her daddy pretty much kept her covered. And she remembers even being the in between person or the messenger between her mother and her father. And then, at one point, LisaRaye was getting so much recognition. She even said that when she would go to places and whatnot, people would know her because of her father. And even with her mother now, she said her mother was more of a homemaker, and her mother was more of the person who stayed at home and took care of the house. And LisaRaye felt like, as a child, since her daddy was letting her do everything, she felt that she was over the mother. And I also see this a lot, especially within Black families, where the grandmothers and the daughters, if the daughters are being favored over the grandmother or the mother, the grandmothers or the mothers, for whatever reason, they just let the daughters have that power. And it's like they let them take over, they let them run stuff, they let them have this, they let them have that. And over time, the mothers and the grandmothers fail to realize how, by them giving up their power to their daughter, that's why they're not being respected. That's why they're not being loved. That's why they're not being considered. And that's why they're not really being understood or respected as a mother as they should, because they gave all the power away. And it seems that LisaRaye's mom, she did the same thing. And then it came out that she stayed with the father mainly because of the money. She was mad that LisaRaye was put in charge over her by her own husband, but she was also mad that her husband cheated on her throughout those years. Now, my message to the mom is that, yeah, your daughter did rule over you. Yeah, your daughter was favored. Yeah, your daughter was treated like the wife, and you were treated like the child and kept out of a lot of stuff and was disrespected. But what's done is done. What's gone is gone, and you just gonna have to get over it and let it go. Because I just feel like in this situation, the mom is really mad about stuff that she really can't change and really can't control. It's like it happened. Your husband's dead, her father's dead, Kai's granddaughter is dead. There's no coming back from that. And since he's dead and gone, and everybody's just left with the memories of unresolved traumas, I feel like that's going to have to be a part that her mom is just going to have to let go of, because it happened and it's something that she can't really change. Now, moving along to LisaRaye. LisaRaye obviously has her own problems, but I also feel like LisaRaye has suffered her own karma in a way. Now, you guys know I do a lot of spiritual videos on my channel, and I do tarot, oracle, and whatnot. And since I'm a spiritual person, I'm gonna slide that in every now and then. And plus, Iyanla Vanzant is a Yoruba priestess, for those of you who don't know that. And that's why she does a lot of the African based exercises and whatnot with people on the show, because of her African priesthood that she has. So, moving along from that, I do feel like LisaRaye is mad and upset and bitter because she feels that her mom is trying to make her pay for what she did to her. But I feel that LisaRaye is suffering her own karma, because the same way that her dad treated her mom is the same way her husband had treated her when they were husband and wife, prime minister and first lady of Turks and Caicos. Because to those of you who know about that marriage, it was very scandalous. This man embezzled money from the people of Turks and Caicos, and he cheated on her heavily. And Dwayne Martin Tisha Campbell's now ex-husband knew about the whole affair and didn't tell LisaRaye. And LisaRaye was very upset and mad and bitter about that. And if we look at it, LisaRaye was what Dwayne Martin was to her as she was to her mother. Hey, Queen Famous. And so it's like LisaRaye is mad at her mother for what she did and for what she feels based on how her dad treated her. But LisaRaye is failing to realize that what you did to your mom and what you went through with your dad and your mom, you went through that with your ex-husband and with Dwayne Martin. So it's like, it's like I said, she got her karma from that. And I think that that's what the mother needs to see, because putting family roles and all of that aside, I'm a person that's a realist. I believe in what's real and what's not. I believe that what goes around comes around. What you do will come back. What you put out, you get back. And I really do feel like, in a sense, that that's what this is with LisaRaye and her mom. And I'll get to the daughter later on, but I do feel like this is karmic. This is a lot of karmic energy going on. I feel like the mother should see that and be okay with that and content, because it's like, okay, you did all this stuff to me with your father, but you fail to realize that the same thing happened with you and your husband in Turks and Caicos. And so moving along from that, we deal with her daughter Kai. Now, I didn't catch it until I re-looked at the episode that LisaRaye called her lazy. And my whole thing with LisaRaye and her daughter Kai is that LisaRaye comes off as one of those moms that was the head chick in charge when it came to her daddy. And it's like when her daddy passed away, she still kept that head chick in charge mentality by her getting into the music industry and the acting world and modeling and philanthropy and whatnot. And she carried that queenly role or that queenly mindset or that head chick in charge mindset. Hey, forecast. And so I believe that's what's ruled her. But unfortunately, I feel like she did to Kai what a lot of black mothers do to their daughters. It seems that when Kai was in her coming of age era, she was going to be like the mom, because LisaRaye had talked about how she went out there, was fast, and had a baby, and, and things. She had to learn how to defend herself and whatnot. And I feel like with Kai, it's like LisaRaye didn't want that to happen to her daughter, but it's like at the same time, you should have let your daughter thrive and grow and learn for herself just like you did, because for whatever reason a lot of black moms, especially when they grow up being the daddy's girl or the mama's girl and whatnot, it's like when they see the same character traits in their daughters, it's like, okay, you can't be me, you can't do what I do, I'm not going to have nobody thinking they better than me or just like me in my own house. But then they fail to realize that they did that to their own mothers and fathers when they was in the house being 13, 14 years old, running out, sleeping with different men and boys and stuff and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like she stunted Kai, because morals aside or whatever, I feel like people need to have that time in their lives to grow and to figure out who they are and what they need and what they should need and what fits them and what doesn't. Because I feel like LisaRaye, she stunned Kai, because Kai said when she was sent to the alternative school at 13, she wasn't as bad as her mom made her out to be. And, her mom's defense of that was a typical black mom defense. I pay the bills. You're not going to tell me what to do in my house. I run you. You don't run me. And this is this and that is that. And it's very unhealthy. It's that toxic, I don't give a crap type of black behavior that a lot of us have experienced growing up in black families, as a way of telling us to shut up or put up and do what we're supposed to do. And if not, we're going to get kicked out on the street. And, and it's just that jealousy and that competition that's evident with black mothers and their daughters. And I feel like that's what we're seeing here with Kai and LisaRaye. Now, to sum all of this up, I feel like with Kai really wasn't able to express herself during this episode. And that's what I'm not liking about Iyanla Vanzant. It's like she's letting and I felt like she gave more praise to LisaRaye than she did to her mama. And I'm like, the mama is sitting there pretty much mad because you doing her the way the daughter done did her whole life. And I just feel like with Iyanla, I wish she would have just let them talk more and pretty much let them have a say and to let everybody say their piece. and just let it flow. Because one thing I don't like about Iyanla Vanzant, yes, she is a priestess and a counselor, but the over dramatics and stuff is just too much for me. That's why I never really watched Iyanla Vanzant in the beginning because of that, but also being a black person and just experiencing, typical black issues, I don't want to see it constantly on TV. Because, whether black people like it or not, a lot of the things that Iyanla Vanzant has talked about on her show is happened to a lot of us, or at least we've seen it in our families. And those are the two main reasons why I really shied away from watching Iyanla Vanzant so much. But I just feel like she should have gave Kai more of a chance to speak. And I really wish she would have gave the mom more of a chance to speak. Now, to be honest, when this whole episode was finished in the ending credits, it said they still don't get along. They're still not able to communicate. And it's even saying that Iyanla is going to spend more time with LisaRaye. My whole sum up of this thing, I feel like the mom just needs to get over the past, come to terms with what happened, and what's done is done, and she let it happen. Because if she would have put her foot down as the mom and not been there so much as for the money and whatnot and the lifestyle, this would be a whole different story. And I feel like with Kai, I feel like when even with daughters, we have to come to a point where our lives is ours. We have to be responsible for ourselves, and we can't depend on our mom giving us what they didn't give us when we was growing up. Because a lot of times with mamas like that, their main excuses, I fed you, I clothed you, I raised you, suck it up, get over it, live your life, you grown. And so I feel like with Kai, I think that's the kind of pill that she needs to swallow at this moment, and just stop playing dumb. Because I felt like she kind of was playing dumb because they kind of made her feel that since she's a daughter and since she's lazy and whatnot, that she doesn't really, know what she needs to do. I'm like, Kai, you're grown. You have a child. You've been a model. You've been in the industry a little bit from what I know, not as high as your mom, but from what I know. And you're not that dumb and you're not that simple. So I just really didn't like that from her. And I just feel like LisaRaye is very condescending to her because to call her lazy right off the bat, that says a lot. It says that she doesn't talk that much to her daughter, doesn't spend that much time with her daughter, and she really doesn't care all that much because LisaRaye to me does come off as one of those condescending black women that's still the head chick in charge like she was as a teenager when her dad was letting her run stuff in the house. And so I feel like with LisaRaye is dealing with her own bitterness because even now this year alone, with the whole Claudia Jordan show that she has, where she talks on the panel with other women, LisaRaye has come off as very bitter and hateful. Because I mean, you said what you said about Nicki Minaj, and Nicki Minaj this year in the song "Trolls" saying "Dollar Dollar Bill, come get her." Even your man know Nicki's do it better as a reference to you from playing Diamond in the Players Club and her being named Nikki, that people like her more because she's a Nikki and you're a Diamond. So yeah, you kind of got clapped back with that too. Then moving along from that, you blew up at your sister, the brat, because of her relationship she came out with the real BB Judy. And then even now, you talking about Holly Berry's vagina. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like for you to be such a queen and such an astute scholar and someone with all this knowledge and pizzazz and class and stuff, you come off as somebody that's real mad. And I mean like mad, mad. Because it's like it's obvious she has unresolved issues about her husband and Dwayne Martin, and it's coming out. And then I feel like she still deals with her mom blaming her for what happened. And I just feel like LisaRaye has to really come to terms with what she did as a daughter to her mother and how that feels to have somebody replace you and they be your own flesh and blood. And you were the one that was supposed to be the example and the guide to them as the parent, and now the child is treating you like the child and they're the parent. Because that has to be very insulting and very degrading. And then you have a husband that's backing that up on top of that. So LisaRaye is not, I don't think she's really registering that. And I feel like LisaRaye is bitter because of what happened with her husband and the whole scandal about the money embezzlements and the infidelities that happened and whatnot. She's just not a happy camper. And I do feel like LisaRaye, here's the thing about a lot of those astute and classy like women and stuff. A lot of them, from my experience, that a lot of them don't have successful relationships with men. It's hard for them to get a boyfriend. And whenever they talk about other women, it's very condescending, especially if this woman is a free spirit, a free thinker. She's living her life and doing what she wants to do. And it's just always that constant judgment. And you kind of see it with church people too. It's like you're supposed to be so queenly and so divine and just so astute and whatnot, and you coming off as so mad and hateful. And my thing is, I'm like, you talking about all these other people because they're happy and you're not. And you can't understand why is it that a classy woman like yourself or someone with all this pizzazz and class and just morals, only has her money and her status to show for it, but don't have no man or no friends or no happiness to represent it. And I feel like that's what it is with LisaRaye. She's trying to figure out, well, why is it that I'm so much better than my daughter and my mom and my sister and everybody else? Why don't I have what they have? And I just feel like that's really what needs to be said. I don't feel like this needs to be elongated or dragged out. It probably is going to be elongated into another episode. Hopefully, Iyanla will get down to the meat and bones of the situation and won't be so nonchalant and flat. And we could finally get something out of this episode that'll be worth watching. So that's all I have for this review. Don't forget to like, leave a comment in the comment section, and to share, and to have a good night.